Happy Friday, everybody. You know what that means? Not only is it game night, which, we know this. We're all fortunate enough to play these wild and fun games. However, it's Friday. It's the end of the week, right? 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 I'm looking down at my crazy peeps. We've been chatting it up here, talking about some weird shit, but, it's what we do. Bunch of fucking weirdos that we are. Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to have a little bit of a post-murder episode tonight, I think. Gray, they went off the deep end a bit last week. Took a little bit of that memory juice, and the next thing you know, she was definitely riding a high. So welcome to Age of Arcanum. We are, post-murder-sode. Episode number 666.
That's a good run.
So I'm gonna be a little punchy. I stayed up last night, watched all 7 hours of the season finale of season 2, Mighty Nine. I usually don't cry. I got a little weepy. Not gonna lie. They do some really cool stuff that you get used to from season 1, but you forget about it because it takes almost 2 years to get to an end of a campaign. And speaking of 2 years, I just recently, this Wednesday, finished my second 2-year Wednesday campaign. We wrapped up that one as well. That was a little rough. We were a year pre-COVID, and then we were a year COVID. So we were a year with each other in a room, and then a year remote. And it felt weird to wrap it up that way, but things are what they are. So my Wednesday, we're going to be adding another show to the schedule. Hopefully by the end of June, because I am also working on another thing called the Dungeon Crawl, which is a competitive bracket tournament cooperative dungeon crawl where you and 4 of your friends come in and see how long you live, and earn points and earn prizes for your points. It's going to be a Tailspire VTT point of view setup, but it's very old school. I've redefined some of the mechanics to kind of match the need for a dungeon crawl. I would also say the Wednesday game is going to be alt-themed as well. I recently got my hands on a copy of Codex, which is a new gaming structure system that some of the former D&D Beyond people are either writing for or supporting, and it's very much a theme-driven mechanic, which I'm a huge fan of. So the Wednesday night show will be called The Descendants. It'll be a 1920s alternative history, Cthulhu, steampunk genre based game. It'll have either 5 or 6 players. I'm not really sure yet. I've got a couple folks on deck for that one. Other than that, our normal games, Monday, Tuesday, our one-shots every other Thursday, working on the Dungeon Crawl, The Descendants. However, before we get started on our recap, down below, there's something cool. I finally I finally was a good person, and I updated our paneling on our Twitch channel, and each of my family of creators, and I call them family because, well, I love watching what they build. I also feel like this community is a huge supportive community, and I think the more we support each other, the healthier we are mentally and physically. So Uncanny Pros has their own panel down below. Ombligo has their own panel. Chesare's panel is down there. Ivar's panel is down there. So it's just a quick, look at our family, click over, support their stuff, what they do as well. It's really cool. I'm also being good. I'm getting caught up on Ombligo. I'm actually starting backwards on Dan's. I think Dan just moved his camera because he's off kilter slightly.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, there.
Sorry. Should I move or do you want to move?
There.
I can...
Whatever's comfortable for you in your microphone, because I know those adjustments change as you're kind of like trying to figure out. Yeah,
I'm just shifty and excited.
Oh, you're shifty. You're Harrow.
I've always
you're shifty.
been shifty.
So let's take care of some housekeeping really quick. But everything you need to know about TTRPG Academy, which that name change for Twitch will be coming through within the week. Unfortunately, there's a limit to how frequently we can change our name, and this channel only got started about a month and a half ago, so I was still locked in a name freeze. But we do have a Discord, we have Patreon, we have YouTube, we have everything we need. All of our backlog is on YouTube for the stuff that's no longer lingering on Twitch. So be sure to check all that out. Discord's lots of fun because if you join our Discord, you are eligible to join events like the Dungeon Crawl. You're also eligible for the One Shot Presents. There is a new One Shot Presents game for next Thursday. There's also going to be a new theme called Monster Hunters, where you build a character based on being a member of the Monster Hunter Guild. And then we do a one shot based on that. As long as you're in our Discord, you can accept the event and it'll be played out live on Twitch. We also give away dice every week. Gave away the llama dice today. Hope for TTRPG came over and did the roll and did the giveaway for us. So that was kind of fun. The new dice are going to be posted on Sunday. And then you roll a D1000 and whoever's the closest or the exact wins the dice and they get shipped out. We're not sponsored by Viridian Dice, but I am a fan of the choices and the different game accessories that they have and stuff. Also, it's a great way for us to support our international fandom as well. If they're international, it's a lot easier to ship. Now, one final thing, and then I'm going to have Dan, Shannon, and Ivar do their quick promos. We are looking to get to 500 250 Twitch followers. To do that, we will be giving away 2 separate copies of the Player's Handbook in digital format. I know for a lot of people out there, buying a hard copy and buying the digital is kind of difficult. And typically, if you've already bought the hard copy, it's the same amount of money if you want to buy the digital. So we will be doing the DM's Guide, the Player's Handbook, and the core books for a while, but help us get to 250. And once we're at 250, I'll be giving away 2 redemption keys for digital copies of the Player's Handbook. We'll have more of that posted, and we'll get that out to the Twitter space. So with that, Dan, tell us about Uncanny Prose.
Oh boy, Uncanny Prose. What's that thing? Wait, what's that I hear? It's the sound of an Uncanny Prose coming this way. 2 of them, me and Shannon, are both members of that thing and do it sometimes. It is another stream here on Twitch, another channel, houses currently 2 running campaigns, one of which will likely be seeing its climactic arc come to a head here in the next few weeks. That one I run, Twilight's Dawn. You are definitely in a place for some very exciting drama if you choose to join us there. The Heroes of the Realm, our mainline campaign, is probably going to be booting up again very, very soon with our DM coming back from a long trip abroad. And we also have Uncanny Creations, a place where our lovely Chloe and Elle are able to show people all sorts of facets that only pros, the real pros, the super pros, know about cosplay, and they are there to enlighten you. Go ahead, check it out, stop by. We mostly stream on Tuesdays, and we'd love to have you there. You're awesome.
Very cool. Shannon, ombligo, please. More ombligo.
More ombligo. I forgot the joke that I was going to make to start this. Whatever. Ombligo del Diablo. It is a Mage the Ascension 5th edition podcast. If you like people that like to role play and do stuff and roll dice sometimes, and sometimes fail miserably, sometimes triple botch, you should check it out. Or if you like anything World of Darknessy, you should check it out. So it is kind of a combination of Vampire the Masquerade rules with Mage rules and a little bit of a homebrew. Has some darker themes for sure, so the mature tag is on there for a reason. So please be attentive to that, especially with a particular upcoming episode. Speaking of, guys, Thursday was a year officially of Ombligo del Diablo.
And what's
And
our
it's
what's our
pretty
what's our audio count now up to?
1 moment, please. I just checked it 5 minutes ago, so one would think that information would have stuck in my brain. Sure didn't. 1 moment. Insert Jeopardy music here. There we go. Thank you. 2,406.
Wow, that's awesome. That's so cool.
Pretty rad.
And
Pretty
everything
cool,
that everything that Shannon already knew about, doing podcasts and getting that all organized and structured, she taught me. So, we are up on Anchor, because I know for a lot of people it's a lot easier to listen to our backlog, just have audio in the background and have it going while you're working on something, or being creative or whatever it is. So she taught me how to do all that, and it's lots of fun. It's interesting to learn how to do stuff like that. And then, here we go. Ivar, talk about some of your fun stuff you're putting up on your artwork.
If you like quirky, off the wall artwork, inspired mostly by Jason's games, which for his Monday night, Tuesday night, and Friday night games, I've done some of the artwork, and I decided to put it on Redbubble on Dark One Designs. You can click on it on down below the YouTube channel there. So I just got done with the city dinosaur.
Yeah.
So
Right there on the slide. Well, it was on there. Although you did that one too. I like that one too. Reminds me a bit of a Star Wars vibe whenever I see that one.
So yeah. So if you want to go to my channel or my shop and check it out, that'd be awesome.
Yep. And Dara, and that's in the panels down below. Everybody has their own panels.
And right now, let me look. Let me see. Hang on a second. I've got one follower.
Hey, your wife's a real good trooper. It might actually be me. I don't know. Because
I think it is you, Jason.
So with that, Dara, tell us about all the cool stuff you got going on in your life.
Oh my gosh. I work a lot. I don't do any side projects. I'm not as cool as these people, so
No. See, people who do a lot of side projects like this are either retired or semi-retired, like me and Ivar, or we have jobs that are a bit more of a grinding job. So the creative is where we exercise our ability to not go insane. And there's Dara, who's just happy all the time, just big smiles.
I wouldn't go that far. I have a lot of hobbies, just I don't monetize or need to get followers.
Well, what's your favorite hobby?
Oh god, I mean, I embroider, I sew, I read, I have tons of plants.
Embroidery.
I cook, I bake.
Etsy crochet. Holy buckets. There's like a whole category of people that crochet on Etsy.
Yeah.
I'm a horrible shopper. My favorite thing to do is just browse. I'm on there and I'm clicking and I'm
window
like,
shopping Etsy for sure.
Right? Love it. My fave.
Jason's got so many of those beer can hats too. It's awesome.
You know what? I have two sentiments for you, Ivar. Right there. 1, 2.
I can't hear him turn them up.
So let's do a quick recap where we last left off, because, murder.
She wrote.
Double murder. I guess technically it's only murder if you get caught. And I do find it interesting at how quickly Zephora responded to the situation, covered it up quite adeptly, and then convinced everybody that, no big deal. Let's move on. But where we last left off, our party had some interesting things going on. After surviving their encounter with what appeared to be bounty hunters that may have been either coming after them, perhaps maybe for what they did to the Avoste family or not, it would seem the amount of time that they had been gone for does not seem to slow down the requirements of a little redemption. However, Hera was covered in a magical dust from the trap that he had walked through, and unfortunately, this had allowed a scry effect to maintain itself for 24 hours. So is it possible that whoever sent the bounty hunters is now aware of the outcome? Don't know. But with all that going on, the team retired for the evening upstairs. And And Gray had decided to drink some memory juice. During the consumption of this memory juice, they had a recollection of somebody that's always been on the very edge of their understanding, while at the same time seeming to retrieve a particular blade that has been having a bit of an influence over Grayson as well. They nearly took the life of Dara while Dara slept, but instead, well, maybe this explains why Zafara helped clean it up. Zafara had pointed out that there was a nice, lovely halfling couple just across the way. That started to make more sense. A little bit of guilt in that cover up. They then made their way out into the hallway and, well, through the basically the blade's influence, came back into the room during their watch and, well, covered in viscera, blood, and the remnants of... Hey, Chav, how are you? Covered in the viscera and blood and remnants of the two murdered halflings, Zafora immediately launched into action the following morning, doing her best to cover up all the evidence and contain as much of the evidence as possible. Team then regathered in the main room, although I believe Harrow had walked off, correct? Harrow, you had walked off at some point?
Yes, I didn't want to catch too much of the plan.
Yes, so at one point, Harrow, you had walked off while Zafora, Dara, and Gray began to discuss. Well, to be fair, Dara and Zafora were trying their best to help Gray help them understand what had happened. They were perplexed at the concern and perplexed at what? Nothing wrong. Just covered in tomato juice. I don't know what you're talking about. And I believe where we last left off, the three of you were in the room. Harrow had walked out into the hallway. The three of you were discussing what to possibly do next. Gray, you still retain the blade. The blade, during the consumption of being long dormant and consuming the blood that it consumed, had revealed itself to you as the Bane Blade. And I believe I sent all that to you in D&D Beyond, so you now have the stats for that. What I will say out of character, this particular blade could potentially level up with you as you gain, levels and stature with the blade. You learned enough about the blade during the drinking of the blade, that the sentient remains of it are slightly chaotic, slightly, maybe even partially insane. But as long as you
never got that impression, it's fine.
But as you attuned with it, and as you begin to delve deeper into the relationship with this blade, you're beginning to realize that there's a lot more to it, and it's revealing things to you from time to time. The dormancy of the lack of consumption of blood is what the initial revelation was to Gray. And you begin to realize more and more that this is a weapon, or this is an item out of time. This is something that you found in a vault from thousands of years ago, and you've pulled it into this new chaotic world of very different reality compared to what it was formed into. And both these realities are beginning to collide. And these are subliminal understandings that you gained through it no longer being in a dormant state. Unfortunately, the cost of that seems to be quite deadly. And unfortunately, it also revealed to you that it's a daily toll that has to be paid. Whether it's your own or someone else's, it doesn't care. And the toll will be exacted. So, Harrow, you are now in the hallway. Gray,
Yes.
Dara, and Zafara, you are in the room discussing what to do next. Harrow, what are you doing at this point?
I think I'm going to. I don't want to get too far. I'll mill about the place, see if there's anybody else looking to catch me on a tripwire, and
Go ahead and give me a perception check.
hmm,
Actually, you're taking a little bit more time. Give me investigation.
I like that better.
Yeah.
Let me remember what I add. Okay, yes, +5. All right, that is a 16.
16. Wandering up and down the hall, you kind of scuff at a couple droplets of blood that you figure Zephora had missed, and you clean it up quickly. The room alongside your room is vacant. The room alongside the two halflings appears to be vacant. As the doors are slightly ajar, you're looking into two empty rooms, and you make your way through the hallway. There's no sign that your attackers may have stayed here. There's currently no sign of anybody else besetting any traps or any kind of objects that you can see like right away. Everything looks okay. I mean, this isn't exactly the Ritz-Carlton or anything where you're currently in. I mean, it's made of sand, mud, and God knows what other wob and daub kind of creation, because wood is non-existent in this world. So whatever can be made into an adhesive, this sand-like dwelling, the second floor that makes up this tavern, you don't come across anything. As you near the end of the hall at the top of the stairwell, you can hear the kind of typical busy activity of the morning rush of a tavern that is, one that serves food, serves drink, serves the things that, give you, the start to your day.
Indeed.
Other than that, nothing else really pops up.
Very well. I'm just going to continue to kick about and not observe anything too exciting.
Back in the room, Dara, Zafara, and Gray are in the process of discussing. What are you guys doing?
So we need to get out of here. Do you have something to change into?
Actually, an excellent question. DM?
I mean, what's in your inventory?
Oh,
I don't
You guys-
have any
you guys
clothes
watch
in
as-
my inventory,
He
so
watches
have I
they
been
go.
naked?
He watches they go racing down the hallway and nothing.
I
I
have.
didn't write that I had clothes.
I do have my deep desert robes, so you could put those on.
All four of you feel a sudden shifting and lurch in the floor as the familiar change of direction of the massive Brachiosaurus where Espis resides on the back of. All four of you give me survival checks really quick.
Oh, natural 20,
9.
so 24.
17.
I add way more to that than I thought I did. Terrible roll, so 12.
Well, Zafara and Dara, you recognize the shift in direction. It's a bit more of a northwest shift. It's probably the final area to get into the Raptor Highlands. Another day or so, they'll be north of the Raptor Highlands and begin to make their way towards Femur Valley, which is another 3 or 4 days northwest of the Raptor Highlands. This seems to jibe with the information received by the halfling leadership. Believe it or not, I actually have my notes up. Go fig. Where is she? Ginny Goodbarrel, who is the leader of this community on the back of this creature, had made mention about their trades routes. You've also learned some of this from Igor, who is responsible for rounding up and herding, selling, and collecting the lesser sand drakes and lesser wind drakes that are often captured and sold at the Femur Valley marketplace before the change of the seasons, and then everybody goes into hiding because as soon as the season of light is over, it becomes the season of heat, where the surface temperature of Cinder becomes unbearable. And with all this in mind, it's these areas that this thing lingers in, for the most part, is pretty much unfamiliar to all of you except for Harrow. And Gray, feel free to describe any amount of, and for all four of you, whatever surplus clothing that you put into your inventory, everything is remember, everything's made from skins, everything is made from bone and chitin and other anything that's material is typically made from hemp. Cloth is practically non-existent unless you're super rich and you can afford some of the rare creatures that can produce silk and cloth. But other than that, whatever you put in your inventory, you can use the standard equipment list for clothing and stuff. It's just not made from cloth, basically. It's made, from lizard skins and stuff like that. For purposes of, you want to role play out how you want to describe what you're wearing at any given time.
Okay, so I did not specifically list clothing, but I have to assume that I have at least one other thing that I wear.
Fair enough. I
Of
would
my
assume
personage.
that's a fair assumption. I'm okay with that.
Okay. Tight. Cool. And I'm envisioning like something that is like braided together because that feels like a thing that they would do.
Mm-hmm.
Like the little like sleeves because it's hot, but you also don't want to like burn. The little sleeves have like little braids, so that's how they're attached.
Yeah, very kind
It's
of like
leather. Yeah.
very kind of Waterworld kind of vibe on the clothing. Mad Max, a little bit of
Mad Max. I know that
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Waterworld
I know
is
Way
Waterworld.
too old.
Waterworld is
Remember.
great.
Waterworld.
I'm sorry that I have sent.
Waterworld has now entered into the B movie genre of sometimes B movies are just really fun to watch for the sake of the content of the film.
I love B movies.
Well,
Briefest aside, I got to show my whole house the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension the
Oh,
other day.
yeah.
my God.
Win for
Jeff
me.
Goldblum rocks.
Oh, so good.
I mean, if you really want to watch a fun, like silly, campy sci-fi, Earth Girls Are Easy is another good one. That's a lot of fun to watch.
That is fun.
And
Have you seen Hannibal the musical?
yes, I have seen Hannibal the
Okay.
musical. Yep. Callista likes some really strange stuff. The weirder it is and the more unknown it is, it seems to be in her library. It's pretty crazy. So, feeling this creature shift underneath your feet, knowing for two of you, for Zephora and Dara, I believe the two of you rolled the highest, you recognize the shift in direction. You know what this means. This is that shift deep into the Raptor Highlands before making their way to the Femur Valley. This, for you, Zephora, you're familiar with the cadence of the beast, its normal routine after being with Greenbottle for as long as you have. This feels like a familiar route to you. So it does feel a little bit familiar. You know that currently between now and the next 2 days, as a little free insight based on what you know. By the way, that's what they're writing on, folks, right there in the slideshow. Based on what you know, for the next 72 hours, all of the available individuals in Espis will be wrangling drakes 24/7. There's a busy pattern to this. Get it done, get it done. And because you rolled the highest, Sephora, you also do recall that the Raptor Highlands do border the worm wastes. And these great herds of both the raptors on the ground as well as the drakes, these herds are hunted by these massive sandworms that kind of live out in the space. And these massive sandworms shift in and out of these gargantuan herds, which all four of you do recall seeing when Igor had taken you on that brief interlude to show you what him and his folk do to wrangle these creatures, both these shale and sand raptors. Yes, the spice must flow. And for you, Zephora, this is all repetitive. You've seen a couple seasons of this activity. You're not a long-term resident of Espis, but you've been with Green Bottle at least 3 or 4 seasons now, ever since she found you. So this definitely feels routine to you at this point. And you've got a pretty good pulse on probably what most of the individuals on here are doing. But other than that, it's the only thing you notice. And you're watching as they are, as they are getting dressed and doing their best to do what you've recommended. There's now a pile of bloody clothes next to you, Zephora, which you're free to do with whatever you want.
I will put all those clothing into my satchel, stuff them in there.
Yes, Gray.
Couldn't we just give those to Harrow to like light on fire at some point?
Yeah, we'll eventually dispose of them.
Okay, let's just make sure that it doesn't like stain your bag in an obvious way.
All right. I carefully roll them up so like the insides on the inside, the reverse side is.
Give me a sleight of hand check, please.
Try to get that as best I can. I'm sure some of it's dried by now. So sleight of hand 6. I got a 25.
You find a spare piece of hemp cloth that you haven't been using, and you begin to wrap the clothing in that in a reverse order, and then you fasten it together with some cordage, some steel cordage that you'd been carrying around, and you carefully tuck it at the very bottom of your bag to make sure that none of the blood touches.
Okay. Well, let's be off.
Before we leave this room, can I just ask what the plan is, other than just like leaving this room? Is that part A of the plan? What's the overall plan? I feel like we need a direction to go that isn't on top of this dinosaur. Progenitus, excuse me. I'm so sorry, buddy. I'm rambling. Thoughts?
Well, let's think about step A before we talk about step Z. We need to get as far away from here as possible.
But no, Greg has a point though. Where if we go and get away from here, then we'll be found. It's gonna look real sketch that we just up and left right now when people are dead.
Sketch?
Yes.
Oh.
Colloquial term. Sorry for not explaining that to you.
Zephora's blank look is like genuinely honest.
We don't want to be in this area anymore. We want them not to be questioning us if they find the bodies, and we want to be doing something else, maybe the raptor hunt, and maybe we can, use the flying.
I'm just saying we need to figure out where we were at the time of this murder that wasn't here, and maybe end up there.
Well, if someone asks, we were sleeping. We don't know anything about it.
So we got up real early.
We left. Yeah, we
Okay.
got up and left and went to the market or wherever we're going to go, and then went to visit, see when the raptor hunt starts, whatever we're going to do.
Isn't this still the middle of the night though?
No,
it's morning.
Morning.
Never mind. Sorry about that.
No, you
Okay,
guys had come off your long rotation of getting in your long rest.
We all got one?
Yep.
I have spells.
Double check.
Maybe let's walk towards where the raptor wranglers are getting ready and make ourselves busy over there.
That sounds delightful.
All we have to do is not be suspicious, and we're very good at that. It helps if you just sing, "Don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious, don't be suspicious," as you walk.
Maybe we should light something on fire too while we're at it.
Don't be suspicious. Don't be suspicious.
I don't know. Fly casually.
Don't be suspicious.
Is this a musical?
It's a reference
It
to
is
the final
now.
episode of Parks and Recreation.
Yep.
This is the musical episode of Age of Arcanum.
That's right. So we all walk going like this. Are you suspicious? Are you suspicious? Don't be suspicious.
So for you, Harrow, still lingering in the hallway, a new and familiar voice can be heard. Well, a new voice in the sense that you couldn't hear them before, but it is a familiar voice of Igor, the individual in charge of the wrangling pens. You can hear him down below, talking to the innkeeper. Hey, where are Tara and Steven? They were supposed to meet me this morning to make those purchases. I told you to keep an eye on them. They look sketchy to me. Well, I checked. I knocked on their door this morning like you asked. There was no answer. I assumed that they were still getting ready. If you like, I can go up and check right now again and knock. Let me have my breakfast first. I'll go check in a few. And then, Harrow, you kind of hear that. Of course, only Harrow heard that. So, because you're
Okay,
the only one
yeah.
out in the hallway, down by, kind of meandering near the stairwell at this point, Harrow. What would you like to do?
Dare
Immediately
I
suspicious. Immediately suspicious.
Dare I risk a suggestion? Catastrophic if failure.
Yes.
That sounds very Harrow to me. I'm down.
Yes, well.
And to make sure it's catastrophic, do it with disadvantage.
What? I didn't even
I'm
say
just
I was
kidding.
doing it yet.
Doesn't matter. It's disadvantage.
I cannot commit to the bit if I haven't even decided on my bit.
Whoa.
No,
Did we bring your bits into this conversation?
My bits are my business and my business alone, damn it. I am going to look exactly as tired and worn out and annoyed as I am as I drag myself into the bar area.
Okay.
And I'm going to put up a hand and order something.
You hear a voice from across the way. Hey, Harrow.
I look.
It's Igor. You and your friends ever gonna come and do some work for me like we talked? Supposed to be doing
Yes,
some
I
wrangling. The schedule's picking up big time right now. I just wondering.
Yes, I do believe that's the plan. If we ever get any damn
Well, as
sleep.
soon as I deal with these patrons that are supposed to be procuring some of the lesser windrakes, meet me over by the pens. I got plenty of work for you and your lot.
Oh, good. Fine. Thank you. How
Yes,
trained are those things, by the way? How far out would they fly?
kind of pushes, gets up from the table, all 3.5 feet of him, as he kind of casually walks over to you with a tankard of coffee in one hand and a sausage sandwich in the other. They're pretty well trained, I guess. I mean, they don't drink water because water doesn't exist anymore. They live off salt. They
Yes.
basically burrow in the salt waste.
So one does the same.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way they live. As long as you don't work them to death, they're pretty easy. They're pretty timid. They're easy to train, especially at this size. It's when they get bigger. If you don't train them now, and they get bigger, they're likely to eat you. But you got to be good about the training now, and not later. It just. But yeah,
That must be very difficult work.
you could either use the stick or the snack. It's up to you.
Understood. Well, either one must work up quite a thirst. How about I get you another drink?
Oh, yeah, I could always use some more sand coffee. I'm down for that.
No. Sand coffee, come on now. It's a day that's going to be hard and backbreaking. Let's take the edge off.
Give me a persuasion check.
Ooh! Nat 18 plus 1, 19.
Nice. He looks over. Hey, Jasmine, You can put a little of that Titan's Fall whiskey in my coffee for me. I mean, as long as Harrow here's buying, I don't mind taking
Of course I'm buying.
taking a little of the
Let's take
edge
me
off
up
the
for a
morning.
while. Indeed.
So the two of you are now at the bar, exchanging pleasantries as he's beginning to sip at his Titan's Fall coffee.
Indeed. And not going upstairs.
Yeah, I'll say you pretty much you've Igor loves to chat. Igor loves to be very audible and very very bellicose in his like presentation of himself. And you just feed into it with that persuasion check that you did. The three of you are still upstairs. What are you doing?
Okay, so got the clothes store, the bloody clothes stored. They're in their new clothes. We're gonna meander down.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to. I don't know if you guys want to, but if you all would like to
You
join
guys
me.
watch as Sephora
Yeah.
heads out the door,
Okay.
starts heading down.
Sephora,
Yes,
thank you.
you're welcome. And tell your little friend you're welcome too. And I turn and walk downstairs.
I look at Dara.
I just walk down.
So the three of you head out into the hallway. The three of you give me perception checks, please.
No.
$13.
13.
Dirty
22.
20.
Okay. Gray?
22.
22. Gray, as you're the last one to come out into the hallway, you do notice that the door next to the halfling door is slightly open. The room appears to be empty. The room next to you, or next to the room that you guys were just in, the door is partially open and appears to be empty. But there's a familiar kind of arcanic-like hum of light coming from that space as you watch something just flare briefly and then flare out of existence. Something similar you remember seeing the previous day after the encounter with the visitors, with the bounty hunters.
Excuse me. So it flared for a second and then went away?
Yep.
You said?
That-
That is suspicious. That is suspicious.
Imagine
Not
you're
just
walking
that.
by a room with a dim light on it, and then there's like a hum of energy and just goes out.
Weird. Okay, and it's in one of the rooms, yeah?
The room right next to the room that you guys just vacated.
I'm gonna poke my head in.
Okay. Give me perception check again with advantage because it did catch your eye and you responded pretty quickly to it.
As a matter of fact, it caught both of my eyes. 23.
23. There is a familiar odor in here. Give me Arcana check with advantage.
Oh, Sephora.
Bless
Arrow.
It was that work meat I ate.
Oh.
The rainbow dice being strong. It can feel its Pride Month, so it's coming through. That's a dirty 20.
Somebody just cast Dimension Door. You recognize the smell, the components. You recognize that's one of the problems with using Dimension Door is its specific components can leave a telltale trace of almost kind of like ozone magical effects behind while using it. Maybe the light.
Not the room that the halflings were in.
No, this is a different room right next to yours. The halfling room's across the hallway.
This is suspicious. This is suspicious. Is there a window?
No, there's no window in this room.
Okay. I will go out of the door and power walk and try to catch up with my compatriots.
Okay, Dara and Sephora are already heading down the stairs. Harrow, as you're entertaining with Igor, you look over your shoulder briefly. Your passive is high enough, and they're not being overtly quiet. You watch as Dara and Zafora are now coming down the stairs, and then quickly at the very top, you watch as a hurried Gray as they follow quickly behind. All three of them are now making their way down the stairs. For Gray and Dara and Zafora, you can see Haro is at the bar talking with Igor. Igor has a big tankard in one hand, the remains of a sausage sandwich in the other hand, and the two of them seem to be engaged in pleasantries. You can catch a glimpse of the conversation as the three of you make your way down into the common space. They seem to be discussing wrangling of raptors, utilization of air drakes, how to capture drakes, stuff that seems to be keeping Igor quite busy.
And
To attempt the smoothest thing that Gray has ever attempted.
for the record, anytime the drink is close to done, I'm like, yeah, no.
Give
Another one.
me a fresh persuasion check.
This
Good
is
morning, Igor.
I'm rolling fire on these. That one is natural 16 for 17.
Igor just has a smile on his face as he kind of like nods at the cup and watches as Jasmine refills it.
Ruining a person's life.
As you do. I'm gonna try to catch up to Dara and slip my arm in between their arm.
Okay.
Like, nah,
Oh my.
hug.
Dara's very confused by this, but she's gonna look over.
Well, before
Um.
before Dara looks over, you kind of instinctively go to the little scab on your neck from the previous night.
They hug with daggers.
I hug and put a
We
dagger
show,
in
we
your
show
back.
affection with blades. It's okay.
We do.
That was some hug.
Okay, just do this and just look up. We should.
Good morning,
go.
Igor.
We should go. We should go. Dara, we should go.
We're just gonna go get some fresh air. My stomach's not feeling good. I'll be back in for some coffee.
All right.
I tried to give them a "we should all go" face.
Oh, I think like I have to go.
I'm not good at deception. But I'm
Sorry.
gonna try the like.
Oh, okay.
And I'll say that Dara and
Can we roll?
Zafora,
See if I understand.
yeah, and I'll say Dara and Zafora, you easily pick up on the fact that when they were arguing up in the room before, they seemed very kind of, hesitant to make a quick move or response.
Mm.
Gray is clearly, obviously bothered by something. They want to leave as quickly as possible. You're kind of picking up on the intensity.
Mhm.
Something's changed between their feelings at that point to this point.
We
have
want to get an early start, right? Yeah,
I-
let's.
Igor, are you going to show us what needs to be done over there with the
All right.
flying creatures?
Well, I know I came here to do something, and now I can't.
Why don't you go show us? We'd love
There,
to.
if you guys feel up to the task of taking a round of drakes out and get me some raptors.
I think we could probably take them out, yes.
Yes, that's.
Yeah, I wish we could have got a little better sleep last night.
Yeah. I seem to
When
be.
they're well trained, he was telling me you can fly them out far as you like as long as they're salt.
Yeah, here, let's go. Let's go ahead and go to the pens.
Why don't you
Jazz-
show me some of your best trained ones?
I guess I could do that. Jasmine, let me get another sandwich to go. My stomach is a bit rough right now. No problem, Igor. Here you go. Hands him another sausage sandwich. It's kind of wrapped in some kind of hemp-like cloth. Well, you three or you four, come with me. I'll show you over to the pens.
Yes.
And then the five of you head out the door. It's now we're now fully in the season of light, so it's not very hot outside. It's never really cool, but it's not 132, which it gets during the season of heat. It's a comfortable 91 for the most part. Usually at the peak of the day, it'll get to about 95, 96. And already you can see the great skin sails that are now out, collecting both the residual salt waste and wind water waste that they gather from the air before they're pulled back in for harvesting. You can see the community is very busy gathering around the edge of the Brachiosaurus's blowholes where the salt air it commingles with the hot air, creating kind of like a crust of salt on the edge of the brachial area where they gather it and scrape it. Memories of the croakers down below that deal with keeping the creature healthy and clean internally. Because obviously, if the Brachiosaurus dies, so does this community. The community dies right alongside it. Taking you more towards the mid to somewhat center section, you're now there with Igor. The pens are very busy. In fact, as soon as you get there, a previous raiding party lands nearby. You watch as about a dozen netted raptors are dropped into a pre-metal pen where they're just dropped in there unceremoniously. The net is then cut and shredded so the raptors can mill about in their new pen. You watch as another flight of drakes are getting ready. Yep, Gray.
As we leave on the way over there, can I cast Detect Magic just to see if there's any leftover funk from the direction that person went?
Yeah, what's the range on that?
Yes,
Area
we want
effect?
all of
Like
the uptown funk.
Shut up. It's only like 30.
Fair enough, but it lasts for like what, 10 minutes?
10 minutes, yeah.
Okay, so I'll say from the point of being downstairs to the pen, you cast it. It creates like a nice little 30-foot diameter bubble around you as you meander around. Give me, as you're walking towards the pens, give me an investigation check, please.
1. There it is. 5.
Yeah. I mean, the whole duration of the spell, making your way over to the pens, you don't pick up on any kind of like residual effects. Nothing you come across appears to be giving off magic. There's the soft kind of orangish pulse of the blade at your hip. But other than that, nothing noticeable. All of you are currently standing at the pens. The pens themselves are the largest portion of this section of the community. There's a series of steel platforms that seem to allow the drakes to take off and land, but first they dump whatever they catch down into these nested like caging areas that are open on the top. But as soon as they kind of like toss down, you watch as one of the pen wranglers quickly runs over to the pen that they were dropped in. They kind of quickly crawl up to the top. You watch as they push something in, and then there's a shimmer on the top of the pen, like some kind of electrical kind of magical field appears, almost like a containment perspective. These things can jump pretty high, but the need to be able to drop and go seems that they've altered these pens to be very user-friendly for this kind of fashion of work. There are a series of drakes that are getting ready to take off. You watch as Igor kind of stumbles a bit, but begins to eat his sandwich, and he kind of tosses the tankard aside and kind of puts on his working face, the face of serious concern. Do you guys want to, you don't really have much experience in handling these creatures for flight. Do you want to mount up as wranglers, or do you want to each pair off on your own? Tell me how you want to try and do this. I know we only showed you the one time. I just don't.
Why don't you run us through the basics of actually flying the beast again? Maybe if we're feeling bold, we could.
I want to fly one.
Oh, yeah. Well, you guys are feeling quite adventurous. Okay,
Yeah,
well.
I was going to say, Dara's going to walk over and be like, show me which one's mine. Let's go.
Okay, well, I don't have enough wranglers right now, so you'll have to pair up. One of you can fly and one of you can wrangle. I'll give you your own drakes, but, there's a quota to fill. I
guarantee you, if You allow us to use some of your best trained drakes, you will be absolutely shocked at the results.
Give me persuasion. No, give me deception first, because you're clearly fucking lying. And
That's not a lie.
well, his insight
It is
roll.
a deception.
Yeah, his insight roll makes it suspicious. So go ahead and give me deception.
He can roll with that disadvantage.
Well, yeah, because he is buzzed.
Yeah. All right. That's a 13.
13. Yeah. Oh, now give me persuasion.
All right. Oh boy, my dice is loving the persuasion today. 18 again.
He kind of belches, and if you feel like you can help us meet the quota, okay. He walks you guys over to a separate platform that's slightly tiered a little bit higher. There are 2 lesser wind drakes there. They have a front saddle and a rear saddle. You recognize the rear saddle from when you guys got flown around before, and that's the Wrangler saddle. Hanging off either side of the Wrangler saddle are these coiled up net harpoons and bolas that they use to cast out into the herd of raptors. And those are attached to metal shackles at the talons of the drakes. They wing up and they pull on the rope, and then it catches whatever raptors get bullied into. The driver, the one that holds on to the metal reins of the drake, Igor looks at all of you and goes, okay, so here's what you need to know. The chains are attached to their large teeth inside their mouths. It's the only way we can control them. So don't yank too hard, because if you yank too hard, it breaks their teeth, and then you lose the ability to steer them. Now, these 2, some of my better ones, I've got my top wranglers out. Know this, if you don't meet the quota, I'll give you the shitty ones next time. So you better meet the fucking quota. Now, this one here is Crispin. This one here is Lightning. Now, these 2 fuckers are my best. Now, they're fast, and they're well trained for a good rider. So be cautious with the reins. If you oversteer, if you understeer, they're gonna know it, and they're gonna take advantage of you right away because of it. They're gonna try and make a break for it. We break them as best we can, but in order to maintain their speed, we got to keep a little bit of the wild in them. And if you don't control them, well, they'll swoop down and catch their breakfast and eat one of the raptors, and then they come back in and they sleep. So we pretty much starve them all day long till the end of the day. Then we feed them to sleep through the night. But I got many crews running, so it's going to be a long 3 days, as they say. Anyways, the reins are chains. Left is left, right is right. Back is up, forward is down. Right? The saddle braces, there's spikes on them. Gentle tap left if you want to go fast left. Gentle tap right with the combination of the reins and the spikes, fast right. Follow me? Now, if you want to come to a quick stop to do a dive, pull up on the chain, both spikes into the chest, and then they'll up and dive. That's usually the maneuver you want to use when you're ready to drop the bolas and the nets down and try to catch some raptors. Now, normally, a decent wrangler can catch 2 or 3. A good wrangler can scoop in about 5. Now, these drakes can carry up to 7. They're strong beasties. So if you're really good, and in this first run, you guys bring me back 14 raptors, well, that's your daily quota. I don't think you're going to be able to do it. I don't care how good these drakes are, but maybe you'll get lucky. Don't know. But, boy, I keep forgetting that Titan's whiskey and a coffee, man. That's good. You're going to go back to collect them halflings later. I'll have me another one of them coffees.
Sounds perfect.
Well, Crispin, Lightning, good luck. He kind of nudges one of the like one of the muzzles of one of them, and big old tongue comes out, licks the front of its own face, and disappears back into the mouth of the toothy creature. Well, good luck. You got the day. But if I don't see you and I just see them, I'll get it. Not everybody's cut for this business. And, well, being stuck out in the Raptor Highlands is not something I recommend. If the orcs don't get you, well, the sandworms certainly will get you. The raptors like to eat you too. The slavers, near the tail end of the slaver season, so they'll get you. Most. Argo goes, did you have to take a shit before you go? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, the waste bucket is right over there in the corner if you need it. But
yes, of course.
Well,
I'll be right back.
Good luck. Get your bounty when you're done. 2 tokens ahead, plus the original amount that we discussed for the completion of the 3 days' work. Other than that, well, good luck. He seems distracted. You're not sure why. He just seems a little distracted with this whole thing of going through this with all 4 of you. But Gray, Dara, and Zephora, you picked up on the fact that he mentioned getting in touch with a couple halflings back at the Shifting Sands. And then he begins to walk away. All around you is the busy activity of raptors being dropped off, drakes being readied, and wranglers and drivers taking off. You can hear the screeching sounds. The big Espis, the big community of Espis, the Brachiosaurus is busy mid-morning. What the 4 of you doing?
Hey guys, real quick.
Yes.
Huddle up and
Yes.
come down to my level, please. I'm very small.
Yes, Gray.
Yes, Gray.
Somebody dimension doored out of the inn. Like, not from the room that the people were in, but very close by. And I'm very concerned. Also,
Yes.
What?
That might be bad.
Which room?
also, there was,
I
like,
knew
this little-
something happened when you came down the stairs. You're about as subtle as a pack lizard in heat, but I knew something.
I'm not even
was
sure I know what
amiss.
that means.
Do they have heats, lizards?
These ones do.
I mean, I think
Maybe
they're
we
made
keep an eye on some
they're
pack
beautiful,
lizards.
so
So someone.
there was a little thing that was like glowy and went like nah and gone, and I am very concerned.
I think as unpleasant as it is, we should steal these and
You've been out in the waste. You know how crazy that would be in this area of the waste?
yes, I know it would be much worse than most of what I'm used to, but I'm also more powerful than I've ever been. Yes, Gray.
I steal them, you mean free them? Hmm?
Yes, with us, because they'll be our friends.
No,
That's how it works. Because
I
we
think he-
freed them, they're going to stay with us, and we'll tie them to camp at night so they stick around.
I think he said steal them.
I think you
But-
mean
Nope,
free.
definitely the second one, Sephora.
Mhm.
Carl, this something wrong with you. What seems to be the matter with you? You
Horrifying
acting-
impatience.
Yes, why are you so impatient about what?
Being on this dinosaur when corpses next to our room are found.
Oh, Harrow, I have an idea.
Yes, Gray.
It's only been like 10 hours or whatever since the thing happened to Harrow, right? That he's being able to be scryed uponst. Because we took a long rest.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Maybe even a little bit longer, because breaking the glass thread, the encounter, all that resolving itself, then the evening's watch, resolving what happened to Gray and Zephora, cleaning up the mess, and the taking of the memory juice. I would say about 15 hours, 14, 15 hours has slipped by at this point.
Okay. Well, if we're going to do this, Harrow, may I?
I move in.
I boop his snoot. And I cast
This is
Dispel Magic on the effect that is having him be scryed upon, is what I'm attempting to target.
Okay. It's high enough to spell. It just happens automatically the minute you kind of boop them on the nose. All of you watch as these very tiny, like flea-like creatures kind of collapse off of his body, and these bugs just kind of swarm at his feet, and they just kind of dissipate.
Oh, they're more filthy than you, I say, looking down at Gristler.
You were
Kinda,
mousy
it
with
pecks
them.
at your ear and pulls out a chunk of earwax out of your ear.
Slurp.
Lights it like a candle.
Slurps it down.
It's just got my personality traits. I'm a big fan of this creature.
Well, I say
You're welcome.
if we abscond with the flying creatures, I'm sure that would look suspicious also.
Yes, but they are our only clear source of exit.
So we're looking at come up with a reason on how we obviously didn't do it, or leave, take
we still-
dragons. Everyone's looking for us. Now we have Progenitus and the city looking for us, as well as the Avostes looking for us. We're
Yes.
alone in the wastes without a community.
Yes, we should find another place that would be willing to give us succor.
Hmm. Do
Preferably,
you know of a
they should
place
be
close
suckers.
by that would
I don't know this part.
and
In
lodging?
the southern salt waste, near
Um,
the edge of Slaver's Route and the Raptor.
Harrow and Dara, give me survival checks. You do have the semblance of some kind of map and understanding of the area.
Plus
30
2,
Okay.
11.
11. The two of you are familiar enough to know that the Raptor Highlands are extremely dangerous, and this is confirmed by Sephora as well. It's not quite the slaver season, so that's not too much of a stress from your perspective, Dara. The massive herds of raptors that are moving through this section are going to be more of an attractive bait towards the worms than anything else. And that tends to be the real danger in raptor wrangling for the most part.
So I'm like listing all this, pointing to Harrow, like worms, raptors, like dramatically all the bad stuff out here.
Flavors, the weather.
I am aware of what the wastes contain. This is like, it looks the same as home to me, just geographically different. I am not thrilled at the prospect, but they are going to assume we did it. We're new here.
But they'll know if we leave right now.
Yes, but they don't necessarily have any way to find us if we leave early enough.
They have just as fast drakes, though, that could come after us and actually know how to fly their drake.
We're taking their best, and they only have so many in so many directions to fly. The chances of them just stumbling upon us, weak. And if only one of them stumble upon us, I shoot it out of the sky.
Oh, Gray.
Gray.
They're raising their hand. I want to know what they say.
That's me. I'm inclined to side with Dara here in that they will almost certainly catch up on us. And also, can we pause, roll that back? What do you mean if they're able to find us? Harrow? I
If
look
they're
at
able-
the bugs running away.
Those are gone now. You did a good job. I trust that there's no more. See,
Well,
you're wonderful at this.
That sounds like
Somehow
flattery
very
to get
patronizing.
your way.
Yeah.
Yes, I've
like
given
to
you all
stay.
compliments, so you give me what I want.
I've had to survive out in the wilderness. I don't wish really to do it again.
May
I would
I
like to
hear an alternate plan?
stay and take our chances and play it off. I planted some evidence that will tend to show that the people that attacked us in the tavern were to blame for the deaths.
Are you going to say that I've committed us to writing these things and now we actually have to go try and do it?
Yes. You have to go and try and do it.
Harrow, give me a charisma save really quick.
No.
Was that like him? That was like him.
Like,
That was
no.
really good, Sephora.
Thank you.
That is a 5 for Harrow on the Christmas.
Yeah, the idea of being inside the belly of a worm couldn't be all that much different than being inside the belly of a dinosaur. The two just, yeah, you feel a little bit of bile rise up in your throat. Little beads of sweat begin to form. Your left hand tremor kind of comes back briefly.
And
It's just, look, it's not like I'm not frightened of what might be out there. It's just, there's people here. I can trust the waste to try and kill me. I don't trust
Sleeping
people as
in a
far as I can
bed.
throw them.
I like eating food. Well, some food that I don't catch myself, but most of the food that I don't have to catch myself. And I can sleep without keeping one eye open.
Look, they're on your side. I understand. We could have taken a few raptors on our way out for the beasts and us to eat.
Well, it's always a good escape plan. We can always institute it if we have to.
With 2 more days of this, we can always show them today that we're good. We can do our worth, and then if we need to escape at some point in the next 2, maybe we can talk about it.
Yes, Gray.
Gray again.
I'm going to ignore that. Also, we're assuming that they're going to be like really upset by murders. I'm not 100% sure that this community is going to be like super angry about it. Those could have been terrible people. What?
When
What?
someone falls because of their own foolishness, that's one thing. People dying in their beds, they assume that happens to them. Do you want to know what people get extremely passionate about defending? Their lives.
Okay,
What?
that's close.
What do I know about the community and how they react to crimes on the dinosaur?
You don't need to roll on this one.
Okay.
Jeannie, she's a tough magistrate. Her job is the health and the well-being of the community, and she exacts heavy outcomes when required. This is not, this is not a tourist destination. This is a working community that is constantly working, constantly surviving. The bulk of their, based on this being your 4th season, the bulk of what keeps them going is the amount of funds that they make from selling the raptors they round up. The sand raptors and shale raptors, go for a pretty price, especially in the especially the salt waste raptors. You figure the only real risk here is if these two are people that were intended to spend funds on the acquisition of an order of raptors. That may make it a bit more of a challenging situation, but murder happens. I mean, this is...
Do I know of any possible bribery that takes place? Or maybe paying off your debt instead of, being beheaded or fed to a sandworm?
Give me a history check.
History. Oh, perfect. A 3.
I mean,
Anytime I need it, it's ain't gonna happen
yeah, I
for me.
mean,
Yeah.
you know that bribery goes on, whether or not that's something specific, whether or not that's something idealistic or something that's out of the ordinary. Bribery is bribery. It's just considered the part of the act of doing business. You know, the better creatures, the better riders, the better food, the better accommodations. There's parts of this
Yes.
community that do better than others.
So if we were to be very good wranglers and bring back more than our fair share of raptors, then we would be a bonus to the community that might be
The daily quota
things
that
like might
you
be overlooked.
the daily quota you agreed to with Igor is 14 raptors. That's the daily quota.
Okay. All right. I think we can stay here.
I think we should. I think we can make this work.
There's a lot of options we can use before we're forced to flee.
Very well.
Also,
Hell,
gives
I
us
know.
more
Done
time
enough
to
to
learn
do
to
it on
manage
my
the
own.
drink.
Now, I want to fly one of these beasts. Who wants to be with me to throw those bolos?
I don't know what I trust myself at less.
Harrow, give me an insight check as you stare at the big beastie in front of you.
Net 12 minus 1, 11.
Best you could tell, strength is definitely involved in the being the writer. You
But
get the
accuracy would be involved with the catching.
yeah, a
which I'm
combination of
also not good at.
well, but acrobatics is a good combo to have, right? The ability to stay in the saddle, throw the bolas.
Actually, if it's an
Oh.
athletic thing, I can do decent at it.
Either or would probably work well. But you get the
Well,
feeling that being a writer may be difficult.
Okay.
I want to ride one.
So who's riding and who's wrangling?
So, okay. I'll ride, so I don't know any of that.
I'll wrangle.
All right, so Zephora and Harrow, you want to be a pair?
Good with me.
Okay. So Zephora, you are going to be a writer. And then Harrow, you're going to be a wrangler. Dara and Gray?
Looks like it. I'm gonna fly it. I'm gonna ride it.
Okay. So Dara be
I would
a
like to wrangle
Make-
because
I
I
make
have an idea.
okay,
Make
Gray.
sure I put my safety belt on.
So with that,
Buckle up, it's the law.
I need animal handling from both my riders as a base.
Okay. How terrible will this be? I'm not awful.
A dirty 20.
A 1.
Give me a deck save, please, Dara.
Shit. Okay, I'm good.
18.
18. You
Thank
manage
goodness.
to land on your knees with one hand down as you're immediately shooken off the front saddle by Crispin. You go tossed in the air. You take 3 points of falling damage as you kind of land awkwardly on the ground. You can hear the chortle and laughter of the other wranglers and riders that kind of watch what just happened as they're getting their mounts ready. The big beastie head kind of shakes and some slobber comes out and as it shakes and just kind of brings its head down to stare at you and then brings its head back up and looks away from you.
I want to walk over to it, like kind of get more in front of it, like stare back at it, just be like, we're going to do this, and then try again.
Give me intimidation first.
22. I'm better
Gotta
at that.
grab it by the reins in the lower jaw area. You shake it a bit and you look right at it. You guys hear Dara scream that out. Go ahead and give me animal handling again, please, with advantage, because you did intimidate it this time.
Goodness, with advantage, that is a 17.
Okay, this time you managed to get up into the saddle. You put your feet into the stirrups. You watch as Gray kind of like gets behind you, grabbing on you to kind of lift up. They put their feet in the stirrups. The bola and harpoon attachments. The bola
back in the saddle again.
Harrow, you're behind Zephora. You're now getting familiar with this second saddle. It's looking familiar to you from the previous flight that you guys did. The bola attachments, the harpoon is there, the net bundled up on either side. Give me a quick insight check, Harrow, as you're kind of looking at all this gear around you.
13.
13. It's a one-shot or done. This, you use it, the coordination between the rider and the wrangler kicks off, the dive, the release, the pull up. You get one chance at this before you have to return to drop off whatever you catch and reset your gear.
Very well. I'll communicate this.
Does he
Yep,
still
fine.
sound like he's in a bad mood?
Give me an insight check.
Roll for Harrow's mood.
You said perception?
Insight.
Oh, insight.
I know an I and a P sound exactly alike.
I'm sorry, insight. 14.
14. Looking at Harrow, this just looks like Harrow. Harrow's intense. He takes everything he does seriously. You clearly pick up on something very traumatic must have happened to him in regards to beasts in general. He always seems to be nervous around the creatures. The beasties do not sit well with him. But other than that, he just seems like the normal Harrow. I mean, considering you guys were nearly, taken in for a bounty that, could be a deadly outcome.
What do y'all think a good mood looks like for Harrow?
Yeah. Can't even read his face. I mean, it's a mask.
Yeah,
for
Yeah, I was
Christ's sake.
going to say that
From
I don't know if
when we
Harrow's ever in a good mood.
first met, it was snarky, but he seems very put out recently. He seems very, very put out after he got that stupid book.
Ever since, okay, the first time you met me, I was kind of feeling myself, and then we were in a stomach. And since then, there was a murder and an attack. And I've been having a bad day, Zephora.
Oh, okay. Well, let's.
The two of you are
go.
having this conversation on the back of a lesser windrake that, it's just kind of
That's-
shifting.
I've been having a bad day.
Zephora, you kind of jiggle the reins to kind of test your grip on the
Mhm.
reins. The creature immediately kind of leaps up, feeling the reins go slightly taut from the pullback effect. It
Mhm.
leaps up, and the draft takes you guys up and off the platform as you're now using the thermals to kind of just hover about 10, 15 feet in the air, waiting for Dara and Gray.
Okay.
The creature is ambling kind of straight ahead. Takes a while for it to move, but soon the platform will be more ahead of you as you guys, the two of you, sit there in the thermals. Dara, what are you doing?
So I'm gonna take the we're on Crispin.
You're on Crispin, Zephora's on
Of course.
Lightning.
Okay. So take us up, and then I know Gray doesn't like heights. So I'm going to then have the Drake do one of those little acrobatic swoopy moves and then go back up to the thermal.
Okay. You match Zephora's effort. You quickly pull up, but rather than dip into the thermal, you kind of push forward, and you watch as the air drake like dips, swirls under the thermals, and then quickly catches the thermal and is now coasting alongside Lightning. The two of you now, they're hovering in the thermals as you watch the Espis community gradually move forward. Off to your right, you watch as a small flight of 3 lesser air drakes come in, a smaller flight of wind drakes come in, dropping off their loads. You see the platform is now busy with them resetting gear. The thermals take you guys higher and higher, getting up to that 2,000 to 3,000 foot level. And being up in the air now, looking, there's a great sandstorm off in the direction. It looks like to be a sandstorm, but it's really what you remember from the previous ride. It's the residual effect of both the natural air and wind currents and the great massive herds of raptors that are now shifting through the highlands. Millions of them moving, shifting, food, fodder, prey, predator, and prey. This massive, just constant movement. You watch as the drakes, without even really needing your guidance, pick up into the thermals and begin to hover and drift in the direction of where the raptor herds currently are forming and moving through the highlands.
How much do I have to control the reins if it's just type like hovering?
Casual riding, casual activity. It's not a demanding process on you. However,
could I cast a spell?
Yeah, you could get away with that. I mean, where it gets dicey is when you're doing severe moves, when you're diving at 1,000 feet, instantly to get that cadence you need to get the bola and the harpoon net to release down into the raptors, and that need for the reaction of bringing the drake up to catch as many of these creatures as you can in the net, and then that quick up back into the thermals to make your way back in the direction of the Espis community. That's where things get really difficult.
I want to cast Beast Bond.
Okay. What does that do?
So it says you establish a telepathic link with one beast you touch that is friendly to you or charmed by you. The spell fails if the beast has an intelligence of 4 or higher. Until the spell ends, the link is active while you and the beast are within line of sight of each other.
Its intelligence is a 3.
Okay.
So you...
Through the link, the beast can understand your telepathic messages. It can telepathically communicate simple emotions and concepts back to you. While the link is active, the beast gains advantage on attack rolls against any creatures within 5 feet, and it lasts 10 minutes. It's concentration.
What you're saying is you become Beastmaster.
Yes. Except not as hot as that guy.
Not as hot.
I can't remember his name. What was his name?
Oh, God, I don't even know.
Oh, dang. It's not Kevin Sorbo. It's some...
I want to say it's Kevin Sorbo.
It's a pre-version of Sorbo, though.
Yeah,
think about the hair and the...
Very, ultimately very proto-Sorbo.
Yeah.
All right, I gotta look it up now. Beastmaster cast. Sorry, man. It's gonna bug me if I don't do it.
I think it's like Mark Singer or something
Mark
like that.
Singer! Mark Singer!
Yes. I know. Useless information number...
I'm all oiled up.
1,242. Well, and it's,
Beastmaster.
the guy who's protecting the prince was from One Day or Good Times. I always forget his name too. I mean,
Rerun.
No, it's not Rerun. You're so... I wish you weren't so fucking awkward, bud. Figure it out. Figure it out.
Okay.
Great show.
So with that, you guys are now up in the thermals, drifting
Well, I have a plan.
cautiously towards the raptor herd.
All right. We're gonna dive. Dive!
Oh, I'm obviously yelling, but I'm not going to yell into my microphone. Dara, if we can get within like 20, 30 feet of a bunch of them, I have a great idea.
Okay, I'll try it. What about that patch over there? That cluster, is that okay?
I kind of like side eye them because there's ground. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll get us down there. Kind of more gently, like get down there.
Give me animal handling as you're up in the
Okay.
thermals.
I
And-
give her guidance while I hug her.
Yeah.
Guidance hug. That is a excellent roll. That is a 20. So that is a 22. What do I get for guidance? A D4?
Yep.
D4.
Where are all my D4s? They are hiding. Here they are. That is a 23.
The creature immediately begins to buck. It doesn't like the fact that you didn't force it down. You recognize this feeling. And you begin to realize that the only way it's going to gain enough speed to be able to force itself back up is the dive. It's the dive that gives it the momentum, gives it the force, so that whatever the nets catch, it's going to be a lot of weight, and it needs that, that kind of response to the dive to get it up. So it's already kind of bucking and shifting. It doesn't like the fact that you're bringing it down lower without going into a dive. The two of you are now, Crispin and Lightning, are now hovering over the beginning edges of the herd, and there's just tens of thousands of these creatures down below. You can see them, spreading out in different directions. Off to the right, you watch, being at 3,000 feet, you watch as this massive creature comes out of the ground, up and over, and you see like a plume of raptor bodies spray out as the massive stinger of the worm, like, kind of goes back down. You're above it. You're 3,000 feet up. It's off down to the right, the very fringe. You get the feeling that these worms are hunting the very edge of the herd.
So it kind of concentrates the herd, so then we can get them as many.
They
raptors
break
as we
and
want.
move, and they break and move. I mean, you're kind of using the natural environment that this is all kind of happening in to your benefit. Looking at this, it would seem, going deeper into the herd might be the better option. Maybe it's hard to tell. It's a little dangerous here on the edge because other predators are taking advantage of the herd, and the great, salt-like, brachial salt miasma that's kind of like spinning up in the air along with the sand. Visibility is not great. You can see them, but it's almost like looking through a brown fog to be able to see them.
No, we'll get to the middle and then dive.
Okay. Now, your telepathic bond with your creature only lasts 10 minutes. So if you want to,
Right.
I mean, you're probably looking at about a 30-minute flight out into the herd, and then another 30-minute flight back to, reposit whatever you catch. So this is a time-consuming process.
Okay, well, I'm going to use that time that I am telepathically linked to it to just better understand, how it perceives its job. How,
I will
how can better control it.
say if you cast 2 more spell slots worth of the telepathic bond, by the time you get out to the main part of the herd that you want to try to harvest from, I'll say any of your attempts at that point will be with advantage.
Well, I can only cast
for you and Harrow.
I'm low level. I can cast it one more time.
That's fine. I'll still, advantage will still be had for at least one of the attempts.
Okay. All right. And we'll do that.
Okay. So riding the thermals, feeling the wind kind of brace beyond. Both Crispin and Lightning are now hovering above the main body of the raptors, and you can see the herd break away and course around big jutting fingers of like flat stacked rocks and almost Utah-like landscape of chasms and rocks that are kind of breaking this herd apart and moving them around in different directions. Both Dara and Zafara, you could feel the drakes beginning to vibrate. Their intensity is kind of like passing through into the riders. They're ready. You feel like they're ready to dive.
Dive!
Zafora, you rear up.
Push
You
forward.
feel the Drake rear up. Dara, you watch as Zafora's Drake drops, just like so fast you could barely see them move, blurring speed down towards the main body of the raptor.
Great. It feels like your hand's up behind me, but I can't tell.
What is the theoretical maximum number of raptors one could catch at any one time, given the equipment that we have?
I mean, depending on how well you do, like on your rolls. I mean, you may get more than 7, but you'd have to fucking roll some stellar DC checks.
Challenge accepted. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So Zafora and Harrow, give me athletics checks really quick as you're both holding on to your saddle bracings as this Drake is now just plummeting.
22.
Nice.
Within that 20.
19.
Okay. So the two of you are you're handling the speed, the drop, and everything as best you can. Harrow, you're beginning to get the rigging ready. You've got the harpoon in hand. You release the hooks where the bola ropes are, the bola attachments of the cable are. Everything, you're doing all your prep work at this time. Dara and Gray, what are you two doing? You're still hovering, just waiting to dive.
Okay. So sensing that we need to get more of a dive, I'll try to like bring him a little higher to then get the speed of the dive.
Okay.
And I guess find a new cluster that kind of looked like the one Gray pointed out, but
Give
more
me
in the middle.
Give me a perception check.
Okay. Okay, well that one went on the floor.
Floor dice.
Floor dice. That is a 14.
14. Best you can tell, the clusters seem most advantageous when they break around the rock croppings. As soon as they break and shift, it seems to slow down sections of the herd that might make it a little bit easier. While watching Zafara and Harrow dive just aimlessly towards the very dense center of the herd, you kind of pick up on the vibe that maybe going after them near these points that they have to shift around might be a better solution.
So I shall do that, and as we kind of get near one, I'll kind of turn my head back to Gray and be like, make sure you hold on and take us down.
Okay.
And
So
be
Gray
ready to
and
catch as many as physically possible.
That's you.
'cause I have a plan.
so
That's
Dara
you.
and Gray, give me athletics.
Thank the dice gods. 19.
Okay.
16.
How much?
16.
16. Okay. Gray, you feel Dara slip slightly in the saddle, like the sudden loss. Her ass hovers off the saddle briefly, and you quickly grab her shoulders and like plant her ass back into the saddle as the Drake kind of like apex dives and coming down, almost like that 0G moment of like not quite holding on as well as she should have held on to. And then you're now diving at a rapid speed, 1,000 feet, 2,000 feet. And as you begin to bottom out in the directions of what you can see, Gray, you're prepping the gear in the process. Gray, what would you like to do?
I am preparing a spell for as soon as we're within 30 feet.
Okay. The drakes are dropping, plummeting, dropping, plummeting. You're within that 100-foot mark, and both Zafara and Dara, you know you've got to start pulling up now to get them to crest down and out. And at the moment of doing that, both Harrow and Gray have to release their harpoons. Dara, give me animal handling, please.
19. That's the
19.
best one yet.
Now give me athletics with advantage, please.
14 again.
Okay, fair enough. The reins kind of slip at the sudden jolt of the change from the dive to the pulling up. Gray, you feel the change, the shift. You're now looking at the like lower portion of Dara's back, as the creature is bent and and you're looking up at Dara, and the harpoon's like right in your hand. The release of the bolas. This is that point if you want to cast the spell.
Okay, so I'm going to set us up so that hopefully Harrow and Zephora are how far away?
They're off to the right, maybe about 1,000 feet in the denser
Oh, they're
portion.
so much farther than I thought
Yeah,
they were.
yeah, they're not quite as close
Oh,
because you guys have
no.
split off towards the one section to take advantage of the herds going around the rocks. Zephara's going for the meat. I mean, she just sees the dense population in front of the beastie, and they're already banking down and beginning their return up as well.
It sucks because I don't think I can do both of the things that I needed to do.
Aw.
I mean, I'll let you retcon
cool.
You want to get a little closer then, not by the rock?
Yeah.
because I'll let you
Okay.
retcon that, because I'll say that you're thinking about that during the dive, and then you smack Dara on the ass and kind of yell in her ear, which forces the
It's-
dive to kind of corsair back and will get you closer to the others. But you'll
Yeah.
have to take your chances with the more denser pack as opposed to the advantage of.
That's perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I'm okay with
Okay.
that.
Okay. Hey, I thought we were going for this group.
Okay, but hear me out. So,
Okay.
Hear me out. That's the way
yes,
it-
I'm
it's like
screaming. Obviously,
tearing-
I'm just not going to blow people's ears out.
I know.
Okay, so Jason, I'm gonna need you to make 100,000 wisdom saving throws. So it's supposed to be a gym, but because we're in the dystopian land,
hmm
and because this is riskier, I propose to you that I hold up Philip as the focus for insight greed to try to stop them in their tracks and make them come towards Philip.
Okay, you're doing that. So here's the challenge that you have.
Mm-hmm.
That will be easy to do. What's going to be hard to do is to then switch to the harpoon and the bola. So that'll be more challenging for you. The DC is going to be higher. I will roll for an area of effect, right? So what I'll do is these are idiotic creatures. They're going to get a disadvantage on their wisdom save. They're neither intelligent or, in fact, you know what? Not even going to save. What I'm going to have you roll is I'm going to have you roll 2d20, and then you add those together, and that's how many will be under the effect of Philip's focal point of your trying to get a stupid group to kind of slow down and look up and stop in an attempt to maybe make this a little bit easier.
You're a kind of malevolent DM.
Well, I love the flavor.
I cast guidance in my heart. I can't cast guidance.
Okay, so we got 14 boys.
Okay. So
Very
with
low
that,
rolls, but-
Zafara and Harrow, as you watch the strange way that Dara's Drake banks in your direction.
They're holding up a spider.
Yeah, the strangest thing in the world, not only a spider,
I look over.
but a
Philip,
a
I want
spider
art of
that's
this.
been
I want a Drake
crafted,
swooping down on
uh,
Philip.
a spider that's been crafted supports for its injured
I look
legs
over.
in very crochet style. And you're watching as Gray is holding them up with one hand, and then with their other hand kind of being the conduit, the focus of the spell. Watching down from where they are pointing, you watch as 14 of the raptors begin to slow down, mill about, and they stop to look up in the air. Harrow, give me a attack roll with advantage, please, as you take advantage of this, releasing the harpoon and the bolas at the same time.
Okay. Well, strength is a minus, dex is a 0. Can I assume a dex attack?
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay. Second nat 20 in a row.
I want
can
those-
break it down
so-
if you like.
So go get a little cardboard box, put my address on it, and send that my way. So with that, because it's a crit, you immediately watch as the net and bolas release.
Roll second.
9 of the raptors get enshrouded and captured by this effect. Zafara, give me a dex save, please, as you begin to feel the weight and you're in the pull-up position of trying to get back up into the heights.
Where's my dex? 6. So I got a 12.
12. You feel the full weight just kick in. This Drake has never had to handle 9 of them before. And through your telepathic bond previously, you recognize the strain and the difficulty it's having as 9 of these raptors are contained within the net below. The force, Harrow, you watch as one of the net cables snaps right off the saddle. You feel your saddle begin to slide slightly over on the other side as the weight distribution begins to shift. You watch as the cable is just kind of doing this right next to you.
I try to secure it more.
You reach out, you try to grab it. Give me an athletics
Draw.
check as you grab it.
Okay, 14.
Yeah, you feel the wires bite into your hand. You watch as one of your pinky fingers gets shredded, the blood trailing behind it. But you manage to hold on to the cable, quickly bring it into the reserve metal loop on the saddle, and you're kind of holding it off with blood running down your hand. Take 4 points of slashing damage, please, from the effort.
Oh.
Zafora, you now feel the creature straining, the wings picking up, the saddle still slightly akimbo from the effect of the broken cable. Gray, Dara, you're now at that point as well. Gray, give me a regular attack roll, just 1d20. I love the facials.
Comeback champions.
The come down.
Okay, is this dex or strength?
Whichever you're better at, because I let your proficiency guide you at this point.
Oh, exactly the same at both. Not good. 13.
13. As you manage to catch the remaining 5 that were stymied by this effect, give me a dex save to hold on to Philip.
My son!
Dara, give me athletics as the strain catches you slightly off guard, but you're holding and trying to help the Drake guide a manageable weight back up into the thermals. That look says it all, Gray. I'm so sorry.
19.
19. You. What'd you get for your save, Gray?
10.
10. You watch, Dara, as you're pulling up and you're looking back at the tail section of the Drake. You watch as the net closes in, collects the 5 that were stupefied by the effect. The difference in momentum carries things a little bit strangely, so I'm going to give you a chance here. All right? You watch as Gray loses grip on Philip, but Philip momentarily 0 Gs right by your face, Dara, before you feel...
Can I grab Philip?
Yeah, you feel the difference in momentum. Go ahead and give me a dex save, please. Or a dex
Okay.
check. A dex check.
Check. Okay.
So add your dex modifier.
Yeah. That is a 12.
As you reach out.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, you reach out and try to grab. It's just the 2 of you, and then you watch as Philip.
No. Wait. Am I... No, I have an idea. Am I strapped in?
Did you tell me you were?
No.
Then you're not strapped in.
I'm a kick off and jump for Phil. Wait.
Oh, no.
Hear me out. I'm a kick off,
You can't tell
and
him
I will just grab Dara by the shoulder and just say, "Trust me," and I'm kicking off after Philip.
I'll trust them.
Okay,
I'm gonna have a
give
heart
me,
attack, but I'm gonna trust.
in order to catch up and get a sense of timing, give me either athletics or acrobatics. I'll let you choose based on proficiencies.
Literally exactly the same. I'm
Okay.
not proficient at either.
All right, well, go ahead. Give me a roll.
Okay. Okay. I have an idea. It's a bad one. but I'll
All
do
your
it
ideas are
anyway.
fun, though.
Natural 20.
Motherfucker.
I don't know what it's for, but I hope
Motherfucker.
it's good.
That is so cool. So before you describe for me what you're doing, you get a slight bit of assistance from the effect. As you turn to let go of Dara's shoulder, the drake tail takes a strange curve in a way that you kind of Naruto, like right across the tail, using that as an ability to get above and ahead of where you think Philip is going to end up. So what are you trying to do to leap and get Philip?
Okay, so my plan is just to leap. I have a way to get back to the Drake.
Okay, I will say, because you did roll a natural 20, and, well, it's just fucking cool what you just did. At the tip of the drake tail, it last minute flings you. So give me a dex check with advantage to balance your way down towards Philip.
15.
15. The DC was a 15. So
The other one was a 1, so
Yeah,
thank you.
the one would have been bad. You catch up to Philip as the flinging of the tail sends you so much faster towards Philip at the last minute, and you grab onto Philip.
Excellent. I grab onto Philip, I give him the smallest hug, and then I misty step back to the saddle.
Okay, so at this point, the only thing you can misty step back to is the tail.
That's fine.
Okay, so as you're watching this, Dara, you watch as at the last minute, you watch Gray as they grab onto Philip, and it's like that Gollum scene where Gollum's hugging the ring and falling into the volcano.
My precious. My
All of a
Philip.
sudden, Gray, bam, and you look to see that they are now straddling the tail and holding on to the tail. Give me a dex save, Gray, to see if you can just hold on until Dara can get you back up into the thermals.
Dex save or check?
Save.
Oh, look at that. Galaji doesn't make any difference. 14.
14. You managed to just barely hang on to the tail, but it's precarious. The winds are howling. It's not until the beastie gets near the thermals that it's a bit more of an even check of the... About 15 minutes later, both of you are all now back in your saddles, hovering, taking the thermals back in the direction of the Espis community. About another 15, 20-minute run to get there. You've definitely set a record. You've managed to capture 9 with one and 5 with the other. This is not what is typically done, especially for people that might be considered rookies. The 4 of
This
you
is
are
not
now
the way.
making your way back with the expended bolas, the saddle's a bit lighter on the rear side because of all the accoutrement that's been used in mechanics. All the weight is now under the main belly of the beast. And it's just got about 15 minutes of making your way back to Espis. Way off in the distance, you can see the Espis community on back. Ooh, look at that timing. Perfect. The Espis community on the back of the Brachiosaur just kind of lumbering in the distance, beginning to get closer.
All right.
So on the way back, so I'm assuming Gray's like hugging Dara, holding on. Dara's like holding on to Gray, like as she's like driving.
It's the weirdest
do
thing.
that
There
again.
is a spider that is slimy, mandibly kissing Gray, kissing them on the cheek. A little bit of punctures, but Gray doesn't seem to care. They just wipe it off, and a little bit of slime, a little bit of necrotic acid, from the effect. But Philip has no facial expression.
MVP.
You know,
MVP. MVP.
But for
Most valuable
pulling,
Philip?
I will tell you this much though, Gray, for pulling that off, you get a D8 inspiration until you use it. That was pretty fucking cool.
That was pretty cool. Well
You
played.
ever noticed Gray is trying very hard to make up for the murders.
How to get away with murder. Do cool shit.
And then have Sephora cover your ass every time.
Crime scene cleanup.
Reminds me, make a couple rolls while you guys are flying back. So you guys got 15 minutes to yourselves to either converse or do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, Dar would like to take the opportunity, since those in your death experience, maybe that'll get things a little chatty, and ask Gray kind of just like what happened the other night. It's like, obviously Gray was distraught and emotional. I don't know why. I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
So you mean pre-deaths?
Pre-death would be good. I think we already kind of established you weren't sure what was going on with the death, but before you just looked at me scared and upset and ran out. It kind of hurt, but at the same time I just want to make sure you're okay.
So you see these things called the magical mushrooms.
Mushrooms, is that like a plant matter?
Fungus, specifically.
Not a plant, right?
Close. I was trying to make a joke. I thought that you would know what that was, and you'd be like, oh, drugs.
Oh, drugs! Okay.
There we go. Good.
And I'm still gonna stare, because drugs is not the answer that
Correct.
It is
I
an
was trying to
awkward
find
flight back.
It's a good
something-
flight.
I was trying to find something that I lost a long time ago through no fault of my own. And I think I found at least something.
Okay. Is it a bad thing?
Arguably, that's the hardest part. I'm not 100% sure. Exactly. There was a person, and I knew them at some point. I don't know how well. And they've just been kind of fuzzy existing back there for a few years. But anytime I try to like focus on them, I don't feel anything. And that's weird.
Like, it's empty? Like, you can't remember about them? Okay. Said a few years. What happened before that? Or do you not remember? I'm sorry, I'm probably prying. It's none of my business.
I know more of the thing. I know there were pieces. I know it's a family. I know that I've died at least once. I remember like growing up. I remember a lot of the
Big
community
things to remember?
and yeah. But anytime it just like everything makes sense until that person enters those memories. It's like, I don't know. You're sitting next to a campfire and you feel warm and fuzzy and nice as you think back on these things. And as soon as they appear, you just stand up and walk over and sit in, I don't know, a cold puddle or something. It's not like unpleasant, but it's not pleasant. It's just neutral.
Are you going to try to find out more about this person?
Because I think that I should. I don't know why I can't remember anything about them. I don't know if they did that to me. Maybe. I don't know if somebody else took that from me, us, maybe. I don't know, because if somebody, I don't know, like if it's somebody that I knew and cared about and something happened to them, I'd want to know and
Maybe they did
help
it to
them.
protect you. But I agree. If you need help, I know at least I'll be willing to help you.
Yeah. Maybe we can do that after we run down every slaver and burn them at the stake.
How'd you know?
You mentioned it.
I don't know if I mentioned it in game.
Did with the
With the scars.
scars.
Okay. And I mean, I have somebody I'd like to too. I remember him. He taught me how to be a blood hunter, helped me go through the chain, helped me find a purpose in a miserable, desolate pit. I don't know where he ended up either. But hey, who knows if I'll come across them in the future.
Yeah. Agreed. And we have to figure out why Harrow hates worms so much. Just any kind of guts,
Right?
you
He's
know?
eaten by something. He won't talk about
I
it.
know, and he won't tell us about it, but I want to know real bad.
You guys are now circling over the landing platforms. You see the empty cages down below, the timing of hovering in front of the cages, the release of the nets. Harrow and Gray, give me sleight of hand, please.
Nine.
Gray, this is going to be really good.
They all fall off the back
I
of
was
the
doing the
dinosaur
sleight of
and
hand
die.
song while I was looking for that score. 13.
13. Between the two of you,
For average.
yeah, I'm going to let an average go because the timing wise, you both have to kind of do it like one right after the other. So as you watch Gray do the release, you see the 5 raptors kind of clip the edge of the cage as they tumble in. The handlers nearby ready to activate, then watch as Dara's raptor or Drake comes in. The raptors release. They hit the edges of the cage, nearly spill out onto the platform, but you see these handlers come in with these big steel poles and shove them on the edges of the cage back into the centers of the pen. They quickly scramble up the side, begin to activate the top of these pens. You watch as the 2 drakes kind of land on the platforms. Handlers coming over, quickly chaining them to their posts, dragging over the gear to reset the saddle gear for the next group of riders. The drakes quickly kind of shaking their heads, their necks kind of bobbing up and down. The drakes kind of shifting. You watch as 2 more pairs begin to walk in the direction of the drakes that are getting reset. There's Igor standing with both his arms crossed like this, his head cocked to one side, as the four of you kind of meander over to the side platform, a little bit of scaffolding near the edge of Espis, not that far from where the cage holds 14 raptors that you brought in. He's got a small bag. He tosses it over to Dara. Dara, you kind of grab it. I rarely give out bonuses, but there's an extra 25 coin. Titan's Fall coin. Good coin. That was fucking amazing. You brought back 14 in one go. I've never seen the likes of that. Please tell me you can do this again tomorrow. I could easily fill our quota before the FEMA Valley. I'm gobsmacked. I thought you said you never rode these beasts before. What? How?
Is it usually hard?
I was honestly expecting at least one or two of you to have died in the
Like
attempt.
it's hard.
To be
So,
fair.
so were we, but it didn't happen.
I'm glad it
I
didn't
believe
happen.
in us.
Well, I would say that you have the rest of the day off unless you want to wait for another rotation with Crispin and Lightning and try it again.
I think, Haro, you're wounded.
Oh yes, my pinkies and ribbons. I nearly forgotten.
Yeah, you should probably get that checked, Haro. It looks particularly nasty.
One of the lines broke.
I'll have a handler recheck those loops and lines this time. Make sure it's okay. We're not really geared to catch 9 at once. We've never tested the equipment to that point before. We'll have to double our efforts.
Clearly, yes.
I think we could try again tomorrow and heal our wounds and have something to eat.
I should probably let you know you want to steer clear of the shifting sands. The head of
yes, we were attacked there last night. I don't want to go back there.
Fair enough. I had given that report to the captain of the guard. Evidently, there's been a bit of a situation. The shifting sands is closed for at least the next 24 hours or so. You'll have to
We didn't
find.
leave anything back there, did we?
Oh my goodness, it's the bounty hunters. They're coming back.
Gray, don't ever play Among Us. Those eyeballs were like sus.
This is 0 charisma, 0 deception. I'm not going to say a word.
Where's
Y'all just don't understand that under the mask, Carol's like, what do you mean? I can't understand why this would be a problem.
what would be a good place to stay other than that place?
Yeah, you
Would-
might as
would
well
I
find a
know,
good
or-
back alley. I mean, Shifting Sands was the only place. Maybe Sephora, maybe your adoptive mother could put a lot of you up for a couple nights until, we wrap things up and make our way towards the FEMA Valley.
Very well, we could go to Green Bottles and ask her to stay there. I'm sure she'll allow it.
Yeah, well, thank you. That was pleasant to see. And then he immediately walks in amongst the Wranglers, barking out orders and just yelling at the top of his lungs. If they can do it, why can't you? You lazy bunch of fucks. Get your asses out there. Let's fill the quotas early. And there's just this new kind of like energy as they kind of all descend. You watch as one of the Wranglers, not seated very well as the Drake takes off, just plummets over the edge of the Espis barrier and 300 feet to their death.
Well, hey,
Down.
when you grow up thinking that you're Magic Johnson and you run into Michael Jordan in the flesh, maybe you just are too depressed to hold on quite so tight.
So you guys have the remainder of the day to do whatever you want. There is the possibility that Green Bottle will put you up. There's still the tower if you want to try to do the tower again. There's lots of options at this point because at this point it's
we have
barely.
a lock to dispel the magic on.
What's the tower? What?
I mean, it's barely early afternoon at this point. This should have taken you many trips to accomplish this, but you guys worked together and used your
Badassery.
skills.
Well, let's see if we can get some accommodations first, and then we can.
Yeah,
What's
it's fine.
what's the tower that you were talking about? Do I know
We're
about
talking
it?
about my tower?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Your tower, Harrow.
Oh,
Okay, I can make another tower, I suppose, but the book may not get along.
no, that's all right. We can go to Green Bottles.
So you guys make your way through the center of Espis, passing through the busy market district. Stalls and other activity on the afternoon activity is mostly centered on dealing with gathering as many raptors, although there are freshly butchered remains of raptors that are hanging from a couple different stalls. There's trinket stalls of all manner, other kinds of just minor kind of kiosks set up that people are either trading at or gathering up equipment. You kind of shift your way through this crowd, this throng of mixed individuals. Make your way near towards the aft portion or the rear portion.
While we're going through, I want to make sure. I want to see if there's anybody following us.
Give me a perception check.
21.
21. Not that you can see. Nothing specific pops out. I mean, it's pretty heavily thronged with people shifting about, different varieties of individuals. But no one stands out like they're specifically following you. You leave the market section to get to the rear Espis portion of the community. Here in the familiar area of the smaller cloisters of not very well manufactured housing, but there the familiar kind of like alleyway that holds a cul-de-sac like section. You can see Green Bottle's entrance into her alchemist area, the familiar scent of an alchemist tent. Who's going in?
Good rhyme.
I'll go in.
Okay. Sephora, you kind of dip in quickly. You look to see the googly-eyed Green Bottle look up as she's wearing those handler goggles that she uses when working with more intricate kind of chemicals and ingredients. She looks up and her face is tiny underneath these goggles. Oh, are they dead already, dear? That was quick. I kind of
No.
expected you to be gone longer.
Not yet, but we do need a place to stay.
Oh, well, I don't have great accommodations, but you can certainly stay here if you wish. You'll have to probably sack out over here between your space that I had for you and where some of my storage is. I don't exactly have room for such. Dar is very large, dear. That's not.
I understand, but we.
Oh,
Yes.
I know what I could do. I haven't used it in a very long time. You watch as she kind of waddles over to like a small iron box. She opens it, puts her hand in, and just briefly makes a quick invocation. There's a swirl of light, throws something in the air. You watch as this door kind of unfolds. It hovers at the back portion of what you used to call your area, your space that you would live in, and it just hovers there. I mean, it's at least good until the morning. It's still a little cramped in there, but you'll have your own space with your friends. I mean, I've never had you over with a slumber party before. This will be neat.
Oh no, that's really what we are, isn't it?
All right. So, did you guys come in with me, right?
They're still out front. They let you go in first.
Well, I stick my head out. We have accommodations. Please come in.
As all of you come in, Harrow, give me an Arcana check as you see a floating door with a bit of energy warped around it.
All right. On my terrible roll of 14.
You're not overly familiar with either this effect or spell, or maybe it's just an item that she invoked. It feels a little similar to what you use for your tower, but on a much smaller, more convenient scale. You do
A
recognize it.
tinier cousin.
Yeah, and you get the feeling that from the door, the way this metallic door is just hovering there in its size, that it's probably an effect attached to the door. It could be an item that she's invoked. But the four of you stand and you watch as Greenball goes, "Oh, well, you're free to hang out here if you'd like, or try out the accommodations. It's up to you."
Yes, I suppose I shall hang out.
I'll walk into the accommodations to see what they're like.
Okay, you guys watch as the four dips through the door, leaving Dara, Gray, and Harrow outside, or in Greenbottle's alchemy tent, quarters, whatever you want to call it.
Is there beds or anything in here?
As you step through, there's like this kind of like weird electrical sensation. Looking around, it's a single room of occupancy. It's big enough for the four of you to be in, but there's no tables or chairs or anything like that. It's just a space that's of average temperate kind of climate. It's slightly lit up, but not overly dark or overly bright. It's maybe about 50, 60, square feet of space. It's not very big. It'll definitely be snug, but it's a place that you could safely be in.
All right.
So the rest of you standing outside, you watch as Sephora dips into the magical doorway. What are you three doing?
With a lot of time on my hands, I'm going to continue to study the book I got and see if, with prolonged amount of time on my hands, and someone who I might bounce like magical ideas off of around, I might be able to make some progress towards cracking in.
Okay. Gray, what are you doing?
Probably making the terrible decision to chit chat with the blade that's on my body. By the way, these aforementioned tattoos, can you re-describe those? Because it just came to mind again that I changed clothes.
The tattoos themselves are not overly bright or distinct in color. They're shadowy in appearance. The ink is definitely not ink. It's almost as if the very pigment of your skin has been permanently altered, almost as if those spaces of your skin are now permanently affected by this adjoining relationship that you've agreed to with this thing, whether intentionally or unintentionally. The tattoos start at your waist, and it's a series of almost like flame-like tendrils that wrap completely around your body, finishing up at the very edge of your neck and stopping right below the scar of anointment from before you started your travels, the vision quest that you were forced upon. Kind of finger the scar momentarily as you kind of take in the very fringes of this tattoo-like appearance as you interact with it. Bit of a cold sensation comes over you.
Because I was wearing long sleeves before, and I am not. Just as Green Bottle meets us, does she have any, like, reaction to this? Just, like, any sidelong glances? Any, like...
Give me an insight
anything
check.
Into it? Oh, boy. Or 15.
15? with her goggles that she's wearing, and she seems just kind of distracted by something that she's working on her alchemy bench after she, watches Zephora disappear behind the door, through the magical doorway. She doesn't really take any kind of notice of the three of you left behind. I mean, she's just going about her busy day.
I'm gonna
That
come
is the
back out
reaction
and
we
try to
want.
find some blankets and bedding and stuff for everyone.
Okay. Dara, what are you doing with your time? Haro is kind of over off to the edge, kind of examining the book very intently. Give me an investigation check, Haro. Gray, they appear to be focused and looking at their sleeveless arms and kind of taking note of this new tattoo. Zephora steps back out of the doorway and begins to shift in the old storage space behind Green Bottle, and she seems to be looking for blankets and other accoutrements for comfort.
On our walking around on through this city, I've seen so I guess finding a way that I could be useful, like crafting things, because the skills. So there's like an armorer somewhere where they're like piecing
So
together
there,
like clothes and protection.
you do remember going to Nobbins, which is Roscoe Thorngage, the tinker shop. There is the Shifting Sands, which is currently, under having an issue. Which you cannot.
Yeah,
I mean,
not gonna go to near that
Yeah.
shifting sands right now.
There's obviously Palea Green Bottles. You're in her alchemy tent at this point. Give me a perception check. This
Okay,
is not a very.
actually, since Green Bottle's letting us stay, I'll see if there's anything that I could help her do, or if she needed see if anything that I could do that could benefit her.
With that, as you kind of peer over at what she's doing, you can see that laid out on the table is a particularly strange looking snake. It seems to be made of both skin and crystal. She has slit it open from top to bottom, and she seems to be harvesting some kind of glandular organ from the creature. She kind of carefully sets it down into a metal plate alongside and finds another one, sets it down. Her giant googly eyes kind of look to see you kind of staring at her as you're watching what she's doing. Oh, hey, you're very big. Is there something I can help you with, dear?
I'm grateful that you're allowing us to stay. Maybe at least I could help you with something. Maybe you need a strong person to help you with something. Can I reach something on a tall shelf?
Well, do you mind getting your hands a little dirty, dear?
Not at all.
I've got some sand crabs that could do some cracking. Tear those open for me, that'd be great.
I think I can handle that.
She takes you over to where two steel barrels, and she pulls the lid off. About a 2-foot diameter creature kind of pokes its head out, and she quickly whacks it on the head with a hammer and hands it to you. The
It's a
stunned.
mole. Is she whacking moles?
Like a crab.
Like a crab.
Yeah, the stunned mandibles of the sand crab go limp. Its big claws kind of go limp. She hands it to you. It feels like you're holding a medium-sized rock. The carapace of the creature is sand, gravel, other kind of rock material, almost like cemented into its shell. You can see heavy, sinewy kind of tendons and muscle connecting the top of the shell to its lower body. As well, if you can get these open for me, that would be a huge help. They're quite messy, though. Give me athletics check, please.
Oh, now it wants to roll nice. That's a 19.
Yeah, you easily your biceps just kind of strain. You catch a glimpse of Gray kind of like watching you as your massive upper torso just kind of, and this crab just cracks open. Viscera just kind of sprays up in front of your face and onto the floor. My dear.
Did you see something go over there? Crack it between.
Oh dear, you seem very good at that. I think I've got a baker's dozen of these to process. If you could do that for me. You watch as she reaches down to pick up the lower portion of the sand crab, and she begins to fondle like the inside organs of the creature. You watch as she scoops out a giant like egg sac out of the creature and begins to take. She drops the remains of the lower like creature onto the ground and is beginning to gently take the egg sac over to the table, and she begins to kind of pull the egg sac apart. She's pulling individual eggs out of it. Yes, Gray.
While they're all setting up and doing everything, and the fact that this is very disconcerting what is happening to these animals right now, I'm gonna go for a little walk. I would like to just go out and walk and see what's going on outside, especially where the shifting sands.
Okay, fair enough. Are you purposely leaving, or do you want to not be seen leaving?
I will let them know that
Okay.
I'm just gonna go for a walk.
As watches Gray quickly just says her farewells, says I'll be back, and kind of dips out the entrance. Sephora, you're still gathering up and taking materials in and out, and to make it a little bit more comfortable. You are a creature of comfort. You do enjoy it a bit. Dara, you're busy over there cracking and ripping apart these sand crabs. Hera, what'd you get on your investigation check? You're muted.
I'm sorry, I did the opposite of what I was trying to do and muted myself. That is a 16.
16. This book is interesting. It's made up of all manner of metallurgy, right? The cover itself is metallic. The lock, the clasp, the glyphs on it, the inability to use spells on it is very interesting. Almost as like it's a defensive mechanism for what it is. The image of the obelisk and the eye and the blazoned kind of gold platinum on the cover of it. The spine denoting very minimal kind of etchings and Cyrillic writing. The weight, definitely a heavy item. You kind of run your finger along the page edges, and each page is metal, almost like a copper, a thin copper, which kind of prompts you to realize that this could be a spell book of some sort. It's not too unusual for some mages, wizards, and other entities that practice spellcrafting to protect and to write into copper inlay. It's the best way to have a spellbook last a very long time. But it also kind of reveals to you it could be a history book of some sort, some kind of arcane like history book. Maybe it's a journal that gives you the idea of getting into the mythical ruined obelisk city in the deep waste. Maybe it's a Bremer temple to get you in there. Those are all rumors and hearsay. Whether or not that place actually exists, holding in your hands the first tangible evidence you've had in the over a decade of searching for a route to this ancient city that's myth and lore. No one's ever said it more than to be a boogeyman story or a story of nightmares and omens, and things to be said around a meal of entertainment. And many bardic tales of this place are kind of renowned for its kind of dark understanding of this place. An ancient place, an ancient city that you believe to be the focal point of an old magic that's not been heard of or seen of in some time. You're convinced that matter magic exists. You know that matter magic exists. Most laugh, most scoff. The few mages and arcane proficients that you've had conversations with, attempting to find little dribs and drabs of information, leading you to just one failure after the other. But in the guts of a Brachiosaurus tube, a croaker has handed you your very first piece of evidence of a place that up to now has been rumor and hearsay. But something begins to click in your mind. This community that you're on, because you overheard Zephora discuss and talk about certain things. There's a routine to this community. At some point, this community probably makes its way through the deep wastes. Probably the transition of the heat period into the dark period, where the coolest point of the weather. And then during the dark period, they end up here during the light period to do the harvest, sail at the Femur Valley, unload all their goods, and then during the period of heat, find respite somewhere. Some kind of, not too unusual for these communities to have their own little oasis of opportunity that they take advantage of to hunker down during the great heat. The Brachiosaurus itself has to hibernate for a period of time, and it usually hibernates during the period of heat. At some point during their cycle of nomadic routine and rotation, this croaker, through the Brachiosaurus's absorption of the sand to feed off the salt that it ejects out through its tube, you begin to realize that's probably where it came from. Somewhere out near the fringes of the deep wastes, this book made its way here. Inadvertently, definitely not intentionally, but it had to come from something. Building, discarded body, a vacant void of land somewhere that it revealed itself and was consumed by the massive Brachiosaurus. The idea of its massive head dipping down into the sand and coming up with a mouthful of rock and sand that it kind of brings through its neck, be processed in its brachial tubes, the salt and everything being sifted and sorted. And a croaker just errantly seeing this metallic object left behind, reaching down, picking it up. All these images are playing in your mind, the pieces falling together. And standing there, you hear a voice, thoughts you have there, Harrow? And you look at the googly eyes staring at your intensity, one hand kind of curling the book into your arm, the crook of your arm. Her goggles kind of come off as she tilts her head to look at you.
Just a bit of buried history that I'm trying to unbury.
Did you take that book over to Nobbins? Was he unable to help you? I think you came back from there the other day, did you not? A couple days ago.
Yes. Not as much as I would like. He attempted something. It was unfortunately not as successful as we might have hoped. But,
What seems to be the sticky wicket, as they say?
well, the most readily available way to open it would be magic, but it allows no magic to touch it. In physical terms, well, it's quite likely to do something highly unpleasant if we should just attempt to force it open.
Well, I might have something that I can help with this. You watch as she disappears behind the alchemy table. She pulls out a small, thin vial with a lot of brackish, sludgy liquid in it. You know, they always say sometimes the old, forceful ways might be the best ways. Now, I do have this acidic gelatin that I've been crafting. It comes from the rare rock shale vipers that we harvest during our times out here. Be bit by them, it will simply melt through you, turn your organs, your flesh and bone to soup, and then the creature drinks you, consumes you. Now, I've combined this with a dispel, kind of like effervescence, something I've been, well, every now and then when me and Nobbins go drinking, we kind of bounce things off of each other. Now, granted, Nobbins a bit of a fucker, he's a bit of an eccentric. I think his brain is slightly off kilter, not quite connected to the stem as we like to say. But
You don't say. I hadn't noticed.
for an artificer, he does have his uses. He showed me a trick he calls infusion of magic, the taking of a physical item and infusing magical effects into it. Now, this one I have not tried it because I have not had a need to try it, but it's a dispel effect. The theory of its function is you pour it onto a magical block or a magically glyphed or warded item that you cannot get by. It begins to corrode into it, and then the effect of the dispel is designed to get rid of the ward of the glyph. Now, the problem is you cannot control the amount of power of the effect. It simply has a one note to it. You pour, you hope it works. Maybe it works. I haven't tested it yet, but you seem to be a good effect on my adopted daughter. I appreciate this. Yeah. She hands the vial to you. Feel free if you wish to try this. It is gelatinous dispel effect.
Okay, all right.
And it
well,
operates as a
yeah.
level 3 dispel effect. Good for one dose. You can pour it on any magical lock. And if the glyph or ward of protection or spell on the lock is greater than, if it's 4th level or higher, you'd have to roll like normal off your base modifier, your base spell modifier. However, if it's a level 3 or less, it'll automatically dispel it as the corrosive agent goes through it. There is problems if you use it on too high of a glyph or warded block. And she goes, just be aware that if you try this on something that's obviously powerful, it could have dire consequences. Nobbins told me to just maybe use it on simpler things at first, but he's attempting to refine it. I'm hoping during next season's Viper hunts we can acquire more of the necrotic acid that I need, but it is what it is. Feel free. Whether or not that book is a good first use, I don't know, but you seem to dabble in the arcane, and, well, people like you can be very helpful to people like me. And she puts her goggles back on and looks at you and looks at her table.
Just as I'm looking it over, about how many uses do I think it might have?
Looks to be about a dose.
About a dose. Okay. I imagine that whoever set this to resist us was quite powerful. This was built to last.
It's possible, but that book seems very old to me. Magics of the old times versus now are not quite the same. And Nobbins have come to that conclusion when we study relics. Question of the day, do you hold a relic? Or do you hold something of the new world? That I could not tell you. It could make a difference in the type of magics that are adhered to this book, this item, whatever it is.
I believe that it is a relic.
If you believe it's a relic, that would make it very old. And make you during the magics before the change, before the collapse of the old world.
Would that influence your decision on using this?
I don't know if it would. I mean, not too often that something so detailed and important just falls into one's hands like this. I see your intensity play out quite well as I watch the pieces of some unknown puzzle fall in place in your mind. I think the only real difference between you and Nobbins is that I think you still hold on to some of your sanity, although fingernails at best.
Only when I have a project to work on, I'm afraid.
Oh, I know that feeling, dear. I know that feeling. And she goes back to like working on the creature on her table. Gray, as you wander about the streets, go ahead and give me a perception check really quick. I assume you're making your way towards the shifting sands, but not in a too obvious way.
Not great, but still a 15.
Okay. Making your way, there is an increased presence of the halfling guard. You do see a familiar individual that you were introduced to at the point of meeting Jeannie. You do see the slightly stockier, slightly more well fitted out and carrying the station of a captain of the guard. The halfling seems to be Stead Artuno, and Stead is currently having a conversation with two of the patrons that don't look familiar, but you could tell that they must be patrons because it wouldn't make any sense otherwise. You can see two guards are in front of the entrance to the Shifting Sands. You can see an unfamiliar metal box that has been placed on a metal sled in front of the Shifting Sands Tavern. Some of the other kind of bone and lizard hide furniture placed on there as well. It almost looks like one of the rooms has been completely emptied of all of its furniture and placed on this sled. You can see another halfling dressed in very simple hempish robery and other things. They seem to be doing incantations and evocations on the different items within the sled. You can see two more guards come out of the front of the Shifting Sands Tavern. They come over to where Stead is currently talking, kind of goes like that to the other two, and then begins to have a conversation with the two guards that came out of the Shifting Sands. I mean, for all intents and purposes, this looks to be an investigation, some series of things. You watch as one of the guards hands a lizard-like skin bag. There's a scroll of vellum in one hand and hands that over to Stead. Stead is busily looking at it, and then the barest whisper, just the barest whisper in your ear, Gray. Well, I don't know how you guys pulled that off, but that is exactly what the fuck I'm looking for. And that's where we're going to finish tonight, folks.
This bitch.
This bit.
Oh my God, that was fun. That was cool. So many arcs. So many arcs started tonight, folks. So many arcs have begun tonight.
We're serial killers almost.
Also,
One more kill.
Also, we are the Michael Jordan of raptor wrangling.
Yeah,
That's
evidently.
right. Oh,
Fuck.
yeah.
Well, and the crazy thing is I rolled 2d8. I rolled a 7 and an 8, but based on the rolls that you guys did, I wanted one of the drakes to have more than the other because of Gray using the focus. So I felt, Gray would have the more challenging from that perspective. And then I gave the weight challenge to Zafara and Haro and just see how those roles played out. And saving Philip, I got to tell you, that's so Shannon. That's so Shannon.
Philip, we need Philip.
For me, Philip has been
Remember
kind of an
before-
MVP, though.
He's got
Well,
the epic poison.
and here's
He's
the
gonna come
thing.
to
If
life.
you can keep Philip alive until adulthood, that's going to be a stellar mount to
I
have.
Nasty.
mean, when I keep Philip alive.
And we could collect silk and make decent clothing. Maybe that could, we could wash blood off of real easy.
Ain't that the truth? All right, folks.
Look,
Thank
I'm
you.
a death cleric. Don't at me. All right.
Thanks for joining, everybody. We really appreciate it. Everything you need to know about us is down below. I will put the Discord server. Come join our Discord. Believe it or not, our Discord is almost up to 250. We're right at that 249
Yay.
point. So if, getting to 300, I plan on doing a 300 giveaway to our members, but you got to be a member of our Discord to get a part of that giveaway. So pop on over. Future giveaways, we are going to be giving away 2 players handbooks to get to 250 on Twitch. And then in the future, to get to 500 and 1,000, we'll be doing some giveaways as well. Don't forget, all the new panels are down below with all of my family clicks, Uncanny Pros, Umbligo, Dark Designs, and a lot of other really fun content to go check out. It is really cool stuff, as they're not only players, but they're creators too. And I think that's important to always point out. So, as I always say at the end of my shows, be safe, try to be nice. That is the hardest thing to do. But more importantly, take some time to play a game. It's important, and you should do it, and it's fun. Good night, everybody.